Will it be world war or world government as Trump presidency approaches? The big geopolitical players are making final moves as the presidency of Donald Trump and Western revolution loom. The Western military-industrial complex made one of its final big moves by positioning a large tank army in Poland. This is ostensibly aimed at Russia, but is in fact a move by a Christian alliance including Russia that is aimed at China. Incoming Trump Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, for his part, threatened to attack Chinese bases in South China Sea. The background for this provocative remarks, CIA sources in Asia say, is that Chinese have also sent 10 million people into Indonesia recently as part of a deal to build up the archipelago's economic infrastructure, something that has raised alarm bells in the Pentagon. The Pentagon wants to build a new military base in the South China Sea to balance this Chinese move, the CIA sources say. The Chinese responded by reminding the West via the White Dragon Society that in 1979, during the Sino-Vietnamese War, when Russia sent a mechanized army into China, Chinese leader Xi Jinping had it destroyed with a hydrogen bomb. The remains of this army can be seen on Google Earth and serve as a reminder why starting a war with China is not a good idea, Chinese intelligence officers say. The saber-rattling is, in any case, just posturing in advance of heavy-duty negotiations on how to change the way we run this planet that will resume in earnest once the Trump presidency starts. The result is likely to be some sort of loose, democratic, and meritocratic world government being formed because the alternative, nuclear holocaust, is unthinkable, sources involved in negotiations say. Make no mistakes, the Trump presidency is a second American revolution and it will deeply affect the operations of the international secret Raj government. Russian intelligence operatives contacted the White Dragon Society last week to seek the reassurance the Trump presidency would be allowed to go ahead. They were told by the White Dragon Society that Trump was not going to be another assassinated leader like Kennedy, because unlike Kennedy, Trump has the backing of the U.S. military. Here's what the Pentagon sources had to say about the matter. A CIA plot to whack Trump is unlikely, since the military has read them the real act. There are no Geneva Conventions for domestic enemies of the state, and military justice is swift and lethal. However, Trump is not going to be allowed to do everything he wants, especially when it comes to Israel. The Pentagon sources say the UN Security Council may vote on January 17 to impose the 1967 borders on Israel enforced by sanctions. They say Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump may be forced out if they oppose the will of the international community, as peace and settlement of all conflicts is needed for a global currency reset, the sources add. Russians' FSB sources, for the part, were able to confirm that when Donald Trump visited Russia in 2013, he was offered the chance to sleep in the same hotel room that Barack and Michelle Obama had slept in. Everything is bugged and recorded in all the hotel rooms around the Red Square in Moscow, says an FSB source who confirms video was recorded of Trump getting prostitutes to urinate on the bed that Obama had slept in. At the time, he did not think he was going to become president, so he did not care, said the source, who operates a security firm of VIPs in Russia and claims to have a copy of the recording. However, the Russians pointed out he did nothing illegal and has never been blackmailed by them about this incident. Trump, for his part, has already announced his first overseas visit will be to Russia to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin. In any case, what is happening around the world is not about Donald Trump. He's just one aspect of the historical revolution. This revolution began in earnest with the British vote to access the EU, took a further step with the election of the Trump, and is now headed for a Frexit, or French EU exit, as French presidential hopeful Marine Le Pen met with Trump last week in New York. Even if Trump is killed, The revolution will continue because there has been a fundamental shift in the power structure of the West that has become unstoppable. The unelected, corrupt Khazarian mafia-owned EU is going to be replaced by a democratic European Union that includes the largest country in Europe, which is Russia, according to the Gnostic Illuminati. This grouping will be allied with North America and will negotiate a 50-50 win-win new relationship with Asia. When the dust finally settles, they say. The change in world power can be seen by the diminished influence of the plutocrats gathered last week in Davos, Switzerland. The only major leader to attend this year was Chinese President Xi Jinping, and this may not have been a good move on his part, Pentagon sources say. As Xi attends Davos, Kabul operatives, German Prime Minister Angela Merkel and Netanyahu bow out as Trump refused to attend to avoid meeting Xi, who may also be purged and replaced with a clone. The Pentagon sources say. NSA and Gnostic Illuminati sources both claim Xi Jinping reports to Evelyn de Rothschild and is not a genuine, independent Chinese leader. Since the Rothschilds are losing power, their proxies around the world are being replaced, the sources say. This has already begun with North Korea, Kim Jong-un, CIA sources in Asia note. In any case, the real mess that needs cleaning up is not in China but is in the US, where a major purge is continuing to unfold. The pedophile and related blackmail network in the US power structure continues to be dismantled in the so-called Pizzagate scandal. Also, the artificial drought and attempted grab of California farmland by Khazarian mobsters has been ended with the geo-engineered storms. There are also over 150 FBI agents in 5 cities, working in tandem with the New York Police Department, propping the Clinton Foundation for money laundering and financing the so-called Islamic terror organizations, Pentagon sources note. The Clintons, in response, have been singing like canaries about their former patrons, the Bush family, and the Saudi and German allies. The Saudis, the Israeli and CIA factions behind the ISIS mercenary army, for the part, are making threats against Trump, trying to provoke war by attacking Syria and using nuclear blackmail in order to keep control of their share of Middle Eastern oil money. This is not going to work because the entire planet has become disgusted with their criminal antics and nobody is being fooled anymore by their primitive propaganda. In Japan, meanwhile, the slave government of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is acting like a deer frozen in the headlines as reality crashes towards them. The fraudulently elected Liberal Democratic Party government is still hoping that their bosses, Rothschild agent Michael Greenberg and Bush agent Richard Armitage, would somehow stay in power and protect them. They also thought Japan was going to be rooted by China as a part of the deal made by the Bushes and Clintons with China, Asian secret society sources say. This is not going to happen, since Japan will be aligning itself with Korea and Russia in order to maintain a stable regional balance of power, Japanese right-wing sources say. Furthermore, bribed stooges like Shinjiro Koizumi, the son of the arc trader Junichiro Koizumi, have discussed the Japanese underworld by saying, as Koizumi Jr. recently did, that they are resigned to Japanese population shrinking to half of its current number. You can be sure a purge of these traders will take place in Japan once the cleanup of their bosses in Europe and the US is completed. A purge is already in progress in South Korea, the other Khazarian slave state in Asia, with the impeachment of the president and the bribery probe into the family that controls Samsung, the biggest conglomerate. Message to Crown Prince Naruhito: save your country before it is too late, and control of Japan is handed over to Kim Jong-un proxy. Contact the White Dragon Society representative in Japan if you do not know what to do, and they will help. Time is running out. In any case, the current logjam in world events will break big time once the Trump presidency starts on January the 20th. Those who cling to the old structure will be flushed down the toilet of history along with it. It is visibly falling apart, and even the people in the old corporate media are starting to report this, one Illuminati sources noted. Those who embrace a coming revolution and wish to save the planet will get a change to help in the job of starting a new golden age.